Drowning. When I came to, I was drowning. Cracks sounded through my body as the watery view around me came into focus. I immediately shot up towards the dimming sky. Upon surfacing, I took in my surroundings. I made it. My cave far above me on the now towering mountains, I began wading my way to the shore while pushing myself above the water in a cyclic motion. The sun had set by the time I got there, so I hurried into a nearby cave to hide out. It was small and humid, with the back of the cave diving beneath the water level. I sat down and caught my breath. And I know I was already by myself, but suddenly I felt lonely. Far from home despite only being there a couple days. That mountain was all I was familiar with. I had the open sky right there for me to touch. I sat in this new place, listening to the dripping water, experimenting with the grid I had found on my backpack the day prior. I had plenty of wood, so might as well keep going with that. The first new thing I'd managed to make was a wooden block, a lot like a wooden plank, but decorated with tools on the sides and a mat on the top. Engraved on this mat was another grid, glowing that same white light as soon as I picked it off up the 2x2. I placed it down and was ecstatic to find that this new block did indeed have that same magical glow as my backpack grid, but stronger. The white glow gave enough light to see the items on the grid in the darkness. After I'd found that, it was like an explosion of new items came my way. If I remember correctly, I figured out recipes for a door, trapdoor, pressure plate, and bark in that cave. Why anyone would turn 4 logs into 3, I still don't quite get. I did this until a raspy kind of gurgle sounded out. Was there something in the water? I suddenly realized how vulnerable I was here. Maybe 4 blocks to stand on with deep water to my front and back, and cave walls on either side. I had used up a concerning amount of wood experimenting and quickly started cobbling together a makeshift wall out of what I had and the results of my experiments. It looked like the ocean would wash it out, but by some maps forsaken rule of this world, it held together as strong as a brick wall, which was good because the moment just before I finished putting it up, something came banging on one of the doors. The smell of mold and rot filled the already oppressively humid cave. Through the gaps in my barricades, I could make out ragged, torn clothes, skin blue-green with craters like coral resting within, and holes in the head resembling a face, emitting a bioluminescent glow. I held my breath as if I was hiding in the nearby water. Wet cracks sounded out as this new ghost pounded on one of the doors. I had no idea how it known I was there. The cave was darker than the night air, and the grid block's glow didn't reach the exit to the cave, but it didn't matter. I rushed to place down the rest of the wood in my inventory I was hoping to save for later. I prayed to the stars hidden from view that the ghost would be unable to break through the thicker material. I heard the shattering of the door reverberate through the cave. Then, nothing. I was safe. The water, if that horror was from the depths, what if something came in through the back of the cave? I only had a couple blocks, not nearly enough to cover it up. I couldn't risk tearing down the wall I'd made earlier. I scrambled away from the water until I had my back pressed against the wooden barricade. Gurgling moans muffled behind me. I prepared to break down the barrier should I see even a hint of movement in the water. I sat there the whole night. As soon as I would start drifting off, the ghost from the depths would wake me from the other side of the wall, which in turn set off my panic that something made it through the water at the back of the cave. I was starting to drift off again when I was awoken again with a start, but this time to a different sound. In place of the gurgles, there was something sharper, higher pitched. The smell of rot was replaced with something burning. Fire! If there was smoke leaking in my cave, there must be a fire outside. I thought back to the past hours on this cave that felt like it got colder every minute I sat in it. I looked around to the darkness the night imposed. I needed that fire. I started breaking down the barricade, but when I got out, the bright sun glared at my eyes as I squinted in an attempt to spot the fire. There was nothing there. After my eyes adjusted to the daylight, all I found outside was a lightly charred and still warm bit of carrion. My stomach growled, reminding me I hadn't the luxury to waste the day. Technically, the smoked ghost carrion, no, I'm not gonna comment on how weird that idea is, was meat, but as you can imagine, I wasn't particularly keen on the possibility of any illness it might have been carrying. I picked up the chunk of flesh. Only in an emergency, I promised my stomach. The bay was surrounded by the ocean expanse and steep cliffs on all but one side. Just across the water looked to be, well, not dry land exactly, but land I could reach. I walked along the thin shore beneath the cliffs until I found my way over there. As I rounded the corner of the mountain, I saw the world. Flat land stretching out to a horizon of trees. An open expanse. I knew all this was here. I could see it from my mountaintop, but it wasn't real before. I couldn't actually go there. I couldn't walk to these trees in the backdrop, but now, the whole world was out there. I could go if I wanted. Then a tension filled my chest. I thought back to the ghost from the depths, an all too recent memory that told me I didn't know what was out there. I was alone with no safe shelter. The sun was climbing the sky, so I got to work.